On the most important day of her life, moments before she was supposed to walk down the aisle, Emma froze in shock. With her bouquet trembling in her hands, she took a single step forward when suddenly her loyal police dog, Shadow, trained, obedient, and fiercely protective, stood in her path, blocking her from moving forward. Guests gasped as a stunned silence swept through the room. Shadow's growl wasn't aggressive, it was desperate. His eyes were locked on Emma, pleading with her. Shadow wasn't attacking. Shadow was warning her, stopping her, begging her not to take another step. Her fiancé stood at the altar, confused and annoyed, while Emma's heart pounded. "Shadow, move," Emma whispered, but he refused. His body trembled, his eyes locked onto hers with a desperation she had never seen, not even on their most dangerous missions. He pushed against her dress, shaking, desperate to stop her from walking toward the man waiting at the altar. Shadow had never acted like this. He only reacted when danger was near or when someone he loved was in trouble. What he revealed next didn't just stop the wedding, it shattered Emma's entire world. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Emma stood at the entrance of the church, her heart fluttering with a mixture of nerves and joy. The soft glow of morning light streamed through the tall stained glass windows, casting warm colors across the aisle where guests waited with smiles. Her police K-9 partner, Shadow, walked proudly beside her, his sleek coat brushed and his badge glinting on his harness. He had been with her through every challenge, every mission, every moment of fear and triumph. Today, he was simply meant to accompany her on the happiest day of her life. But the moment Emma stepped forward, Shadow froze, his ears shot up, his body stiffened, and in a sudden, startling motion, he moved in front of her, blocking her path entirely. Gasps rose from the guests as Shadow let out a low, trembling growl, one filled not with aggression, but urgency. His eyes locked onto Emma's, pleading with a depth she had never seen before. Emma's smile faded. "Shadow, what's wrong?" she whispered. He refused to budge. Whispers filled the church, confusion rippling through the crowd. Emma tried again to step forward, but Shadow pressed closer, shaking with warning, and deep inside, Emma felt it. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. Daniel finally stepped away from the altar, irritation flashing across his face as the guests murmured in discomfort. This was supposed to be the perfect moment, the moment he had insisted on planning to every last detail. Yet here was Shadow, Emma's loyal partner, ruining everything. "Get that dog under control," Daniel snapped, his voice sharper than Emma had ever heard it. The words echoed through the silent church, causing several guests to shift uncomfortably that Emma's breath caught. Shadow had never disobeyed before, never behaved unpredictably, never reacted without reason. But instead of calming, his growl deepened the moment Daniel approached. His fur bristled, teeth showing just enough to send a warning. Daniel halted, startled. "He's acting crazy," he muttered. But Emma saw something else. Shadow wasn't being aggressive. He was afraid. Afraid for her. The bridesmaids exchanged uneasy glances, whispering behind their bouquets. Shadow nudged Emma again, pushing her back, tugging gently at her dress, as if begging her not to move an inch closer to the altar. Emma's confusion twisted into dread. Her heartbeat grew loud in her ears. Everyone expected her to continue the ceremony. But Shadow, the dog who had saved her life more than once, was desperately telling her not to. Before anyone could stop him, Shadow suddenly spun around and bolted down the aisle, his nails scraping loudly against the polished floor. Gasps erupted. Emma didn't think. She lifted her dress and ran after him, ignoring the shocked shouts behind her. The church doors burst open as Shadow pushed through them, sunlight flooding across the steps outside. Emma followed, her breath uneven, her heart pounding harder with every stride. "Shadow, wait," she called, but he didn't slow. He darted around the side of the building, following a path Emma knew he wasn't familiar with. His pace was frantic, his tail low, his ears pinned back. Pure instinct was guiding him. Emma rounded the corner and froze. Shadow stood rigid beside Daniel's car. He wasn't barking now. He was shaking. Then, with a desperate whine, he began scratching furiously at the trunk. Not random scratching, targeted, precise. the way he alerted during investigations. Emma's stomach twisted. Her hands trembled as she stepped forward. "Shadow, what are you trying to show me?" With a deep breath, she reached for the trunk handle that IT clicked open. Inside lay a woman's handbag, its strap torn as if ripped from someone's shoulder. Beside it lay a cracked phone, a shoe smeared with dirt, and a piece of fabric Emma recognized instantly from the news. They belonged to Daniel's ex-girlfriend, the one who had gone missing weeks ago. Emma stumbled back, her vision blurring as Shadow pressed against her leg, whining softly. The truth she had never imagined was unfolding right before her. Emma staggered backward, her breath catching in her throat as the weight of the discovery crashed over her. Shadow barked sharply, once, twice, activating the emergency alert on his harness. Within minutes, two nearby patrol officers rushed toward them, their expressions shifting from confusion to alarm as Emma pointed at the open trunk. One officer knelt and lifted the torn handbag, his jaw tightening when he recognized the missing woman's ID tucked inside. This is evidence from an active case," he murmured. Shadow suddenly stiffened, nose lifting to the air, then bolted toward a patch of disturbed soil near the trees. Emma followed with trembling steps as the officers hurried behind him. Shadow began digging with frantic urgency, his paws tearing through the loose earth. Seconds later, he uncovered a half-buried bracelet, one Emma had seen countless times in the missing person reports. An icy chill ran down her spine. "No, this can't be real," she whispered. The officers exchanged grim looks. One spoke softly. "Emma, this isn't a coincidence. Someone tried to hide this." Her world tilted. Her mind raced back through every conversation with Daniel, his strange late-night calls, his defensiveness. About the past, the sudden disappearance he claimed not to know much about. Red flags she had dismissed as stress or jealousy now cut through her like knives. Shadow pressed his head against her leg, grounding her as tears blurred her vision that he had known. He had sensed danger long before she saw it, and now, standing above buried evidence, Emma realized the truth she never wanted to face. When Daniel stepped out of the church and saw the officers examining his car, his face drained of color. "Emma, what are you doing?" he demanded, but his voice cracked with something darker than confusion. "Panic." Shadow growled the moment. Daniel approached, positioning himself between Emma and the man she had almost married. One officer raised a hand. "Sir, we need to ask you a few questions." Daniel's eyes darted from the evidence to the disturbed soil, and then he ran. In a burst of desperation, he sprinted across the parking lot. But he didn't get far. Shadow lunged with perfect canine precision, knocking Daniel to the ground and pinning him with a furious snarl. The officers rushed forward, securing Daniel's hands as he stopped resisting, his chest heaving. And then, the truth spilled out, broken, trembling, undeniable. He confessed everything, his voice shaking while horrified guests gathered at a distance. Emma felt her heart crack, not from love lost, but from the betrayal she never saw coming. Shadow trotted back to her, pressing his head gently against her trembling hand. She sank to her knees, wrapping her arms around him. Her hero had saved her life, again in the days that followed. Emma found herself sitting on her small apartment balcony, staring at the quiet street below as the weight of everything settled around her. Her discarded wedding dress hung over a chair inside, still pristine, untouched, a reminder of the life she almost stepped into blindly. Shadow lay beside her, his head resting gently on her lap, his warm presence grounding her every time her thoughts spiraled. She ran her fingers through his fur, her voice barely above a whisper. "You protected me from something I couldn't see, something I didn't want to see." Shadow blinked up at her, as if he understood every word. Friends called, offering comfort, but Emma found solace only in the steady rhythm of Shadow's breathing. He hadn't just stopped a wedding. He had saved her future, her safety, her life. For the first time, she felt clarity instead of heartbreak. "I didn't lose a husband," she murmured. "I was saved by my hero." Shadow shifted closer, nudging her hand with quiet affection. As the sun dipped behind the buildings, Emma stood, feeling stronger than she had in weeks. The world hadn't fallen apart. Shadow had simply revealed the truth in time, and together, they were ready for a new beginning.